A plant-based diet produces short-chain fatty acids. Meditation actually heals the gut and makes the gut produce more short-chain fatty acids. Exercise. They did a study looking at exercise, and they discovered that it improves the gut and it helps you produce more short-chain fatty acids. This combination of what is considered to be a healthy lifestyle, getting more sleep, getting more exercise, eating a nice clean plant-based diet, meditation, or like managing your stress. We have evidence, as detailed in my book, we have evidence that on all of those levels, it is affecting your gut microbiome. And guess what the currency is? The currency is the production of more short-chain fatty acids. That's what you get.
Hey everyone, we are really excited to bring you one of our most fascinating interviews to date. We just wrapped up an interview with Dr. B, and he blew our minds once again. His brand new book, Fiber Fueled, is out right now. We talked all about it in today's interview. If you're interested in losing weight, maximizing your insulin sensitivity, boosting your immunity, eliminating brain fog, gaining energy, and so much more, this book is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. This was one of the best interviews we've done in a long time, in an absolutely long time. And the reason for that is because Dr. B is fascinating. He is a walking encyclopedia, but he also has a really cool way of being able to describe complex science in a dumbed down manner that really makes it understandable. So in today's interview, you're going to be learning a lot of things, including how Dr. B himself was able to change his diet to overcome a lack of self-confidence and a lack of self-worth, which is something that he's very open about and very willing to describe in detail. Number two, you're going to find how fiber, the way that we talk about it in sort of pop culture, is greatly oversimplified, and that there are more than just soluble and insoluble fiber types. In fact, it's much more complicated than that. And we're going to get into detail about why that's actually important. Number three, you're going to be learning about gut-brain signaling. This is one of my favorite topics. He's going to go into detail here about the number of nerve endings that innervate your gut and how your gut actually communicates directly with your brain and vice versa, and how the two of them are having what he refers to as a 6-hour-long phone conversation all day long, every single day. He's going to talk about the wide range of benefits of these things called short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids are this currency that are used by every single tissue in your body. They have various and very diverse functions in your pancreas, in your liver, in your brain, in your thyroid gland, in your vasculature, in your kidney. And he's going to talk about what short-chain fatty acids are, where they come from, what foods produce them, and what they can do in various tissues throughout your body. We're also going to talk about this mind-blowing concept known as leaky brain. Now, leaky brain is something that you may not have heard about, and it's I don't want to go into too much detail here about it, but it basically deals with how the blood-brain barrier can become permeable to compounds in your blood that are not supposed to enter your brain. And he's going to talk about how leaky brain is actually implicated in dysbiosis and why improving the quality of your diet and improving the quality of your microbiome can actually fix brain fog and at the same time reduce your risk for the development of Alzheimer's disease, which is a mind-blowing concept. You're also going to learn a couple of life hacks. One of them is how you can get Starbucks coffee for free. So if you listen to this podcast for no other reason than to get free coffee from Starbucks, it would still be worth your time. This podcast also has a lot more information than just what I talked about here. So we hope that you love this interview. This is a mind-blowing interview in so many ways. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss future videos. And also leave a comment below and tell us your thoughts about this interview, and we will do our best to respond to you for sure. We'd love to see what you guys think. And if you're listening on our podcast, also don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. Every review helps this podcast move farther and hit more people. So we really appreciate your time and attention to detail, and really hope that you enjoy this interview. We are extremely excited to be here with Dr. B, Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. Now, Dr. Will Bulsiewicz is a board-certified internal medicine doctor, and he's a specialist in gastroenterology, which is a big fancy word to describe that he is a gut health expert. He's also an internationally recognized gut health expert that wants you to tap into the incredible healing power that lives inside of your gut, which is known as your microbiota. We're going to go into a lot of detail about what that exactly is today and how it functions to actually benefit many metabolic organs inside of your body. His medical training involves 16 years at America's elite institutions. And he completed a bachelor's degree from Vanderbilt University and a medical degree from Georgetown University and a master's in clinical investigation from Northwestern University. In other words, he's real smart. He's also he was the chief medical resident at Northwestern and the chief gastroenterology fellow at UNC. And he received the highest award given by both his residency and his fellowship. He also completed an epidemiology fellowship at UNC's prestigious Gillings School of Global Public Health. Dr. B could be one of the smartest human beings we've ever met before. And we've had multiple conversations with him about gut health. And we found those conversations to be so helpful. And we've got such good feedback on them that we decided that we wanted to do yet another conversation with him, because he also has an incredible book called Fiber Fueled, which is coming out today. So, Dr. B, how you doing, my man? We're so glad to be with you again today.
Sai, I am extremely happy to be here. And I want to, right off the bat, just pay you a compliment. I hope you don't mind. And this time it's not about your striking good looks.
I'm nervous.
All right. You know, you and I, over the last couple of months, we've gotten to know each other pretty well. And what I've been amazed by is the progression in the confidence in which you say my last name. And I'm wondering, I always teach my son, when my son and I play basketball and he misses a shot, I'm like, don't worry, practice, practice. And so I'm wondering if you've been in front of the mirror in the last few weeks saying Bulsiewicz, just practicing. What is it like?
I kid you not. When I first saw your last name, I was like, that's complicated. So what I did was I wrote it down, and I was
made you anxious. It made you anxious like lectin.
It did. I was like, Bulsiewicz, Buska. And then I practiced it over, and I swear, every single time I look at it on my phone, on social media, I'm like, Bulsiewicz. And so I've kind of like grained it into my head. So I'm glad you can hear the confidence. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Dr.
I'm happy
B,
to be here.
I'm just going to stick with Dr. B. This is it. Today's the day. We are recording on the day of your book launch. Give us a summary of how you got to this point.
Gosh, man, this is crazy. Where do I begin? Here's where I'll start. So first of all, I feel like I'm doing what I was supposed to do. And what I mean by that is not writing books. I mean more so being a doctor. And, that was my dream since I was a kid, like teenage, I was like a teenager. And then when I got to be about 30, the diet that I was raised on started to fail me. I could get away with it for a really long time. I never gained weight in high school or even my early 20s. But when I got to be 30, I woke up and I'm like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. I weigh 50 pounds more, anxiety issues. I was depressed at times. High blood pressure, low energy, even low self-esteem, even though, Cyrus is rattling off those credentials. And I'm very proud of the hard work that I put into my career. But even though I was accomplishing all these things professionally, I had low self-esteem. And I needed a way out. And my medical training hadn't really taught me how to do that. And it was the discovery of a plant-based diet that radically transformed my life. The weight melted away, the anxiety lifted, the self-esteem and self-confidence came back. And it was so powerful that I went to the medical literature to say, look, Georgetown, Northwestern, UNC, how come I haven't heard anything about this? And was shocked to discover thousands of studies supporting a plant-based diet as the path to optimal human health, and particularly optimal digestive health, optimal gut health. And so I brought it into my clinic as a gastroenterologist, and the results were so powerful that I felt compelled to share it, that I couldn't just be a doctor. I had to actually put this information out there to the public, particularly when I see that people are not having the root of their issue, which is damage to the gut microbiome. They're not having that addressed when they show up and they just get pills and procedures all day. And 97% of Americans right now are putting themselves at risk, not just for digestive issues, but for other medical issues because of their low fiber diet. And so it set me on this path where I first took to social media. Then I started showing up on people's podcasts. And the energy and enthusiasm was so much that it basically forced me to do something that really wasn't my plan. And that is write this book, Fiber Fueled, out today. And I'm proud of it. It's literally almost 2 years of work. I've been grinding nonstop. There have been very few days that I've taken off to relax. And now finally, this thing that I've been, secretly working on at Starbucks, finally I get to unleash it on the world and see what they think about it.
Oh, this is a Starbucks masterpiece. That's incredible.
Well, I'm the kind of guy, like I'm sure you guys were like this when you wrote your book. You got to figure out when you're the most focused. And so for me, at the end of the day, I'm wildly inefficient because I'm exhausted. I've been working really hard all day, and then I play with my kids for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was always, I got to wake up at 5 a.m. Wake up at 5, go to Starbucks. I figured out all of the tricks at Starbucks. I've had so many Starbucks points. It's ridiculous. Did you know, this is not the most important piece of information that you're going to get from this podcast today, but this is one of the important little nuggets. Did you know that at Starbucks, if you have the app, and you get yourself a coffee and you complete that coffee, mm-hmm. you can get a free refill.
Oh, that's like McDonald's back in the day. They didn't used to tell you that, but you could also do the exact same thing. You could get
completely free.
Yeah, but they don't advertise it, right?
They don't advertise it. And now normally a refill, there is a cost to a refill. It's a lot less than a normal cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. All right. But if you go up there and you got the app and you're just like zing, zing with the app, 0 cents, free refills.
Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, that was a phenomenal podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Mic drop. I'm out.
Yeah. See ya. Okay. So we got so many different directions we can take this. Okay. One thing that you just said in your last answer is you said that Americans are fiber starved. In your book, you said that 97% of people living in the United States are fiber starved. A couple questions. Number one, what the heck does that mean? Number two, how do you know that they're fiber starved? Number three, how much fiber should people be eating?
How many questions can you rattle off at once and try to confuse me? This is amazing.
I can go a lot more.
There's a level of intensity here, but I like that. I like that. All right. So the issue is, hold on, I don't even remember the first question.
Okay, so how do you know that 97% of people are fiber starved?
All right. There's this thing that we keep seeing showing up, which is that we try to do studies on fiber in the United States. And a common way to do a study is you line up a group of people. Let's pretend it's 100 people. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the high fiber consumers and compare them to the low fiber consumers. So what you would do is you would say, out of these 100 people, I'm going to compare the top 20 in fiber consumption to the bottom 20. Well, guess what? When you do that study in the United States, the high fiber consumers are consistently below the daily recommended amount of fiber, which is 25 grams for women and 38 grams for men. We can't even do a study in the United States with people eating the recommended amount of fiber, because even the high fiber consumers are less than the recommended amount.
Oh, and even the reason people in the high fiber group are less than the recommended daily amount of fiber.
The high fiber consumers are getting less than 25 grams. When you look at these studies, when you pull them up, you're like, oh my gosh, the high fiber consumers are 22 grams on average. The low fiber consumers are 8. And the recommended amount is 25 for women and 38 for men. It's absurd.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really kind of sad and depressing. So the statistic that 97% of Americans are not getting the minimal daily amount of fiber is completely accurate. And it has consequences when it comes to your gut health. There is a special connection between fiber and your gut microbes. This is their food. They are as alive as you and I are. What happens if we starve? If we starve, we grow weak, we start to recede, our muscles go away, which is a big deal for a guy like Cyrus, who's a professional bodybuilder. And we end up in a place where we're not capable of performing our daily activities. Like we literally become incapable of doing the normal things that you need to do on a day-by-day basis. Guess what? That's literally the exact same thing that happens to these microbes. If you don't feed the microbes, they grow weak, they recede, and at some point they become incapable of helping and supporting your body in the way that we rely on them for. And there's a study that was done by Justin Sonnenberg, who is a microbiome researcher at Stanford. And by the way, Sonnenberg has supported my book, and you'll find him inside the cover. So he wrote a book called The Good Gut, which was a great book as well.
Fantastic.
And what Sonnenberg showed in the study is that if you take mice and you put a human microbiome into the mouse and you monitor what happens over generations. Now, of course, like I'm not advocating for animal research here. And this is a study that is impossible to do in humans because it takes 30 years to have a new generation. It would take us 90 years to do this study in humans. But in mice, they put a human microbiome into the mouse and they monitor what happens from grandma to mom to daughter. And what they found is that there is a generational loss of diversity, basically meaning the gut is getting weaker generation by generation on a low fiber diet. Now, there was a way to reverse that. You could fix the problem. And that was quite simply to reintroduce fiber. But if you waited too long, you could get to the point where you reintroduce the fiber and it's like, dang, man, we missed the boat. It's too late. We can't get the microbes back. So the bottom line is that here we are, and for at least one generation, our generation was raised on a low fiber diet, right? We're children of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the generation before us was the first to move into this low fiber diet. And here we are, and we see the emergence of all these issues that are associated with damage to the gut, not just digestive issues, which are insanely prevalent. I mean, I literally wrote in a study myself, 70 million Americans with digestive issues. But beyond that, immune issues, autoimmunity, allergic type problems, diabetes, metabolic disorders, obesity, hormonal problems, mood disorders. All of these things come back to gut health. And the bottom line is that our low fiber diet is what's doing it.
All right, Dr. B. So while I was reading your book, I saw that you were claiming there are multiple types of fiber. So most people think, oh, it's just soluble and just insoluble, but you claim it's not that simple. What do scientists know about different types of fiber?
Fiber is incredibly complicated. So to estimate or measure how many different types of fiber exist in nature, like literally scientists have not come up with a number. But we think that there's millions, if not billions, of unique types of fiber, okay? Fiber is not just fiber. Every single type has its own unique biochemistry. It will have different effects. And so the fiber that you find in a bean is different than the fiber that you will find in kale. And that's different than the fiber that you will find in a steak, which there's none in the steak. There is no fiber outside of the plant world.
And one thing that you also said was that there are something like 300,000 different varieties of of plants, and about 100,000 of those are edible. Is that right?
Believe it or not, so you actually had it right. 300,000 edible plants.
There it is. Okay.
On the planet, out of 400,000 plants total. We could literally be going outside right now, and we could probably be eating a lot of the plants that are around us. But it's interesting because unique plants, different plants, have different types of fiber. And our gut microbes, I want people to, this is just as important as the Starbucks coffee comment from before. I want people to realize that these microbes are picky eaters. They are picky eaters. And so what that means is that they want the fiber from specific plants. The microbes that feast on the black bean may say, I don't like kale. I'm not eating that. Okay. So because these microbes are picky eaters, because they want the fiber from unique types of plants, the critical idea to optimize your gut health is to have as many different varieties of plants as possible. Different varieties of plants produce different types of fiber, which supports a diverse gut microbiome. And guys, this is like, look, okay, cool. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. It's a phenomenal theory, Dr. B. I'm not in the business of writing a book about a theory. There's enough of those. There's books about the lectin theory. There's books about the gluten theories. There's enough of those. I'm in the business of writing a book about real science. And I wouldn't come forward with this idea if I didn't have the backing of the legitimate science. The American Gut Project, which is the largest study to date to make a connection between our diet and lifestyle and the diversity of our gut microbiome, found that the single greatest predictor of a healthy gut microbiome is the diversity of plants in your diet.
Okay, so that was my next question is, why is diversity important? Go into a little bit of detail here about what does it mean to have a diverse ecosystem of bacteria in your large intestine? And in addition to bacteria, what other organic material exists?
So I like that you called it organic material. You're such a scientist.
I don't know what to call it. I just thought of that on the spot.
All right. What's fascinating to think about is that if you had a combination of a microscope and a telescope, you could see our, not just world, but the entire galaxy on all these levels and realize that there are all these different ecosystems. All right. The gut is an ecosystem, like inside of you. And that is conceptually similar to a rainforest, right? Which is conceptually similar to the globe on a larger scale. And the rules of each ecosystem are the same, which is a fascinating thing to consider. Biodiversity is the word. If you look at the Amazon rainforest, zoom in there for a moment, there is this community, this balance that exists between snakes, the birds, the bugs, the animals, the trees, the plants, the river. It all is there in harmony. It's the way that nature created it. And if you go into that ecosystem, and look, I don't like snakes. I don't like mosquitoes, but they serve a necessary purpose within that ecosystem. And if you go in there and you take them out and they go extinct, there will be a void that exists within that ecosystem that the other animals are not designed to compensate for. Those snakes and mosquitoes are there for a reason. And so loss of diversity within any ecosystem is dangerous, and it can lead to basically the ecosystem becoming fragile and incapable of doing the job that it's there to do. The same is true in your gut microbiome. If you go into the microbiome and you start removing species, those species are there with a purpose. Each one of them has a role in human health, contributing to digestion, our immune system, our hormonal balance, our metabolism, our mood and brain. Each one is there with a purpose. We need to support every single one of these microbes and allow them to thrive. When we have a diverse ecosystem within our gut, we have a resilient, strong ecosystem, a resilient, strong gut that is capable of taking on whatever you toss its way. And by the way, that includes things like COVID-19. We've never been exposed to a virus like this before. This is the first time. And when you have a balanced, strong, resilient gut, it is more built and adaptable to whatever you throw at it, including a new virus like COVID-19.
Okay, this is fantastic. There's so many directions that we could go here. My mind is just teeming with different questions. Now, one thing that you talk about in your book is you go into grave detail about the importance of your microbiome in communicating with your brain. There's this thing called the gut-brain signaling, okay? I only have 9 questions about this. Ready? So here they are. Just kidding. Okay, 2 questions for you. Number 1, what specific combination of biological material inside of your gut microbiome is responsible for signaling to your brain? And secondarily, how are messages actually sent from your gut to your brain and vice versa? Can you go into a little bit of physiology here? Because I think it's fascinating and I don't really fully understand it myself.
Okay. I want to take on both of these questions all at once with one big answer, which is to discuss the brain-gut connection and how this works. Your brain and your gut are best friends. They are like teenage girls that sit and talk on the phone for 6 hours straight. How can a human being talk to one human being for 6 hours straight? I have no clue, but somehow this is what teenage girls do. And that's like your gut and your brain. They're best friends. They're constantly talking to each other. And it's bidirectional. It goes both ways. The brain talks to the gut by sending signals through the vagus nerve and by releasing hormones, for example, from the pituitary gland, all right, which can activate the sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system, all of which affects the way that your gut functions. Now, on the opposite side, your gut, it is so fascinating the different ways that your gut is able to communicate to your brain. There are so many unique pathways. One is through nerves, okay? Your gut has 500 million nerves. Think about that, 500 million nerves. That is 5 times more than you'll find in the spinal cord. Your spinal cord only has 100 million. Right now, sitting here, the people listening at home, those 500 million nerves are collecting information, all right? They're collecting information and they are basically taking it and they're integrating it, packaging it second by second, and sending it upstairs to the brain through the vagus nerve. And the brain uses that information. Gut feelings, right? Gut feelings, your gut intuition. Beyond just the nerves, there's the neurotransmitters. There are 30 neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, all produced in the gut. 30 neurotransmitters. Guys, I mean, I'm no neurologist, but I didn't even realize there were 30 neurotransmitters. I could only name like 5 or 6.
Right, I know. That's a
Right?
lot of neurotransmitters. That's true.
That's a lot of neurotransmitters. And so the gut is producing 30 of them. 90% of the serotonin in the body is produced in the gut. Precursors of serotonin, 5-HT, are able to cross the blood-brain barrier and affect mood and focus. All right. So the gut is producing this absurd amount of neurotransmitters. And then here's my favorite part. For the people listening at home, you've heard of probiotics, okay? Those are living bacteria. Maybe you've heard of the new trend, which is prebiotics. Prebiotics are food for the gut microbiome, which is a big part of what my book, Fiber Fueled, is all about, prebiotics. But let me take you next level. Let me take you into the place that no one has even started talking about, and you are going to be ahead of the curve and look like the person who discovered the next big band before anyone else heard the album on the radio, okay? Let's talk about postbiotics. Postbiotics. This is the entire point. The entire point of prebiotics and probiotics is for them to combine. When a probiotic bacteria eats the food that it finds in the prebiotic, it will produce these magic postbiotics. These are the molecules produced by the bacteria that live inside of us. And they can be of many different varieties, but the key here is that when they consume fiber, which again, 97% of us are not getting enough of it. When these microbes consume fiber, they release butyrate, acetate, and propionate, which are short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids cross the blood-brain barrier. Short-chain fatty acids repair the blood-brain barrier. So many people who come to see me, they say, I got brain fog. all the other doctors will dismiss them. Oh, that doesn't exist. Well, no, these people are really experiencing this. And brain fog, and I've discussed this with the Sure's eyes, is the breakdown of the blood-brain barrier. It's like leaky gut, except it's leaky brain. And butyrate repairs it. Butyrate repairs the blood-brain barrier because it reforms the tight junctions, which are the exact same tight junctions that exist in your gut. Butyrate repairs the gut and fixes leaky gut. Butyrate repairs the brain and fixes leaky brain. And then that's just the barrier. Butyrate crosses to the other side, goes into the brain, and actually has effects. It can affect our focus, our memory. But what I'm most excited about is that, you know, Alzheimer's disease is a widely prevalent condition these days. And it's caused by the formation of beta amyloid plaques. And I can't even tell you how much the pharmaceutical industry would pay for a drug to prevent the formation of beta amyloid plaques. They would probably pay billions of dollars because they would make trillions of dollars. Okay? These microbes produce postbiotic short-chain fatty acids, and butyrate, one of the postbiotics, has been shown to actually prevent the formation of beta amyloid plaques in the brain.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, you literally just blew my mind. The first thing that you said was leaky brain. Go into more detail about this. You're saying that there's a blood-brain barrier which actually becomes permeable to compounds from your blood that shouldn't be inside of your brain. Is that right? The short-chain fatty acids go and they actually repair the blood-brain barrier such that only specific compounds can move from your blood into your brain. Is that right?
Your body is designed with natural defense systems, okay? The body is beautifully designed. It's amazing. And one of the defenses is the epithelial layer or barrier that exists in the gut, which is intended to keep out toxins so that toxins in your diet don't get into your bloodstream. It's a layer of protection. And that gut barrier is built where cells are basically spot welded together with what are called tight junctions. When people develop leaky gut, it's the breakdown of these tight junctions. They pop open, and now these cells are not held together anymore. And that's where you have increased intestinal permeability and toxins can start to enter into the bloodstream. Okay? That is dysbiosis. That's caused by damage to the gut. One of your barriers or one of your protective layers has broken down. Well, guess what? The blood-brain barrier, which is designed to protect, let's be honest, our most critical organ, which is the brain. All right? The blood-brain barrier is built the exact same way that the gut barrier is. It's the same types of cells held together with tight junctions. And when these tight junctions break down, it's the same effect. You are allowing things to sneak through and get into the brain that are not supposed to be there. The short-chain fatty acids have the ability in both locations, both the gut and the brain, to repair the tight junctions, bringing those cells back together and reforming the barrier. It's like having a wall around a city and you are basically closing off the holes in the wall to defend yourself.
This is unreal. Okay, now the second thing that you said is that short-chain fatty acids, butyrate in particular, has been documented in evidence-based science to reduce the formation of beta amyloid plaque inside the brain. Why is this not being talked about? This is really important.
Well, so Cyrus, we have invested so much energy and frankly, like negative energy into our fear of these foods like lectins and gluten and phytoestrogens. And no one has brought forward, like it blows my mind that no one yet has brought forward legitimate science to talk about postbiotic short-chain fatty acids. I have no clue why I'm the guy who gets to write the book, but I'm really glad that I'm the guy that gets to write the book because this is the real deal. This is the real deal. There are hundreds of studies backing this up. This isn't theory. There are hundreds of studies backing up the health promoting benefits of short chain fatty acids, and you get them with the consumption of fiber. And this is just one of the little perks. You could go throughout the entire body. You could talk about reversal of coronary artery disease, which is what Dean Ornish showed back in the 90s in the lifestyle heart trials, which is that you could reverse coronary artery disease with a plant-based diet and meditation and exercise. Well, guess what? Like this is no joke.
Talk to me.
A plant-based diet produces short-chain fatty acids. Meditation actually heals the gut and makes the gut produce more short-chain fatty acids. Exercise. They did a study looking at exercise, and they discovered that it improves the gut and it helps you produce more short-chain fatty acids. This combination of what is considered to be a healthy lifestyle, getting more sleep, getting more exercise, eating a nice clean plant-based diet, meditation, or like managing your stress. We have evidence, as detailed in my book, we have evidence that on all of those levels, it is affecting your gut microbiome. And guess what the currency is? The currency is the production of more short chain fatty acids. That's what you get.
Yeah. There's also some research that we've become privy to in writing our book about the fact that short chain fatty acids also have direct effects on the insulin producing beta cells inside your pancreas, and they can actually regulate the amount of insulin that is secreted in response to a carbohydrate rich meal. And so just like you're saying, short chain fatty acids, they're like this currency that can go and signal to tissues all throughout your body and improve the cellular function regardless of where they exist.
This is why a person who has type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, can literally take a fiber supplement with their meal and notice improvement of their blood sugar. Literally by the meal. Now, I'm not saying that fiber supplement is the way to go. The way to go is actually to optimize your diet across the board. But it's proof of concept that literally all you have to do is throw that fiber in there with the meal and you will improve your blood sugar control.
Dr. B, it seems like there's nothing short chain fatty acids can't do. So in this current environment where, we have a crisis going on, COVID-19, can short chain fatty acids boost immunity?
So, Robbie, let me just say that I'm apprehensive to sit here, particularly because of this book coming out, and to sound like, hey, there's this one silver bullet, right? I'm a little apprehensive to say that there's this one silver bullet that fixes everything. Let's be more, let's be practical and real that there are limitations to anything. But yes, man, yes, there are studies with short chain fatty acids and our response to a respiratory virus. So let me start here. There was a study that came out last week, okay? And they've been asking the question, why do some people get severe COVID-19, yet others literally didn't even know they had it at all? What is it that determines the response of the body to the virus? And now, full disclosure, this is a study that is published online. It is not yet peer reviewed. I'm looking forward to the peer review process, but they wanted to get this information out to us as quickly as possible, and this is how they were able to do it. And in the study, the bottom line is this. When they worked backwards to identify and understand what is it in the patients with severe COVID-19, what they discovered was alteration and changes to the gut microbiome. It is implicating that the gut microbiome is potentially an important factor in determining the way that your body responds to this virus. Now, zooming in on short chain fatty acids once more. I don't have a study with short chain fatty acids and the SARS-CoV-2 virus. That doesn't exist yet. We will see where this goes in the next year. It takes time for that kind of thing, and that's not the first priority when you're fighting this virus. But we have studies with short chain fatty acids and other respiratory viruses. So just to give you an example, there was one study, again, I am not advocating for animal-based research. I'm just sharing the results of the study, where they looked at mice and they were infected with influenza, a respiratory virus, and they gave them a high fiber versus a low fiber diet. They actually predicted that the mice eating high fiber would do worse. The thought process from the scientists was that fiber is anti-inflammatory. So because it's going to suppress the immune system as an anti-inflammatory, it's going to actually make you more vulnerable to this virus. And they were shocked. This is why you have to do research and you can't just have ideas. They were shocked when they discovered that the opposite was true. The mice on the high fiber diet lived longer with less severe symptoms. And objectively, when they looked at the respiratory function, the lung function was way better. So they backwards engineered it. And they said, well, what the heck is going on here? We're confused. We thought that this would be bad. And what they discovered is that when you fed the mice fiber, it enhanced their gut microbiome, which led to the release of short-chain fatty acids. The short-chain fatty acids actually went through the bloodstream to the lungs, where they recruited CD8 cells, which are the exact immune cells that you need to fight the virus. They got the good guys into the fight. All right, you got the right guys on the battlefield. Simultaneously, the rest of the immune system was told to chill out, cool off. So rather than having an immune system that goes nuclear and just tries to destroy everything in its path, which is how people get severe sepsis with this virus. When the immune system is overactive, that's how you actually get sepsis. That's how you get acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is what puts people on a ventilator. Instead of that, it was suppressed. The immune system was suppressed with the exception of the proper immune cells. In other words, the short-chain fatty acid turned up the immune system in the exact spot that you need it turned up, and it turned it down in the spot where you want it turned down. And that is a perfect response to a respiratory virus.
You know, whenever I hear you speak about all these topics, it just reminds me of this infinite wisdom of the human body that's just beyond our comprehension, but also how much science has learned. It's how much scientists have learned over time. You're able to describe these things that are just mind-blowing. I mean, of course, 100 years ago, they had no idea of this stuff. I mean, this is all so new, which is fascinating. But anyways, your book, okay? One thing I just want to tell you, Dr. B, the cover itself, the elevation of the word fiber fueled is really nice. Ours doesn't have that. I'm like, wow, that's cool, man. It's a beautiful thing to hold. But
thank you.
You know, all this amazing science, and it's fun, it's interesting, but then you add in the practical elements. So many amazing practical tips. Page 81 talks about eating certain plants together to get a synergistic effect. Can you tell us about this and provide some examples?
All right. There is this beautiful thing that exists where, you know, I preach eat a diversity of plants. And I've already mentioned that in our podcast here today. That is the golden rule of gut health. All right. And what's amazing is when you discover that these are not just, you know, plants working by themselves, that you can have multiplication factors, that you can actually synergize in a way where you get more out of something. So a quick example, you know, people freak out about iron levels with a plant-based diet. Now, here's the beautiful thing. Heme iron found in animal products is extremely inflammatory and associated with multiple adverse conditions, including cancer. All right. So we don't want to be getting our iron from an inflammatory source. That's not a good idea when you talk about living 80 years. We want the anti-inflammatory source, which you get non-heme iron in plants, but it's not as readily absorbable. Well, guess what? If you get vitamin C in your diet, vitamin C substantially improves the absorption of heme iron, of non-heme iron. And so if you take that salad, that kale salad, or that spinach, and you squeeze a lemon on top, you get so much more out of your food. If you take a look at, green tea, it has EGCG. Squeeze a lemon in there, you get even more of the antioxidant EGCG because of the lemon that you just squeezed in there. You talk about turmeric, which has curcumin. They found this connection between curcumin and black pepper, where black pepper actually increases the absorption of curcumin 2,000%. There are synergies that exist within our food that we don't even know about. And this is why eating a broad, diverse diet is the optimal diet, whether you are vegan or you are not. This is the optimal diet, period. I'm out.
Well, that was great. See you guys later. Okay. Dr. B, we could go on for hours. What I really want to know right now is how can you educate our listeners how they can pick up a copy of your book? Clearly, you've done a really good job of explaining what are the benefits, what are the things they're going to learn in your book, and then you just literally just scratched the surface. Where can they buy your book? How can they buy your book? Why is it important that they get your book now? Put in a huge plug for yourself, because this book is truly a game changer, and I have enjoyed every single minute of it.
Thank you, man. All right. So the deal is this. The book, this is about gut health. This is evidence-based. Enough with the stuff where it's pseudoscience, enough with the stuff where there's no evidence to back it up. I put together this book with 600 references. I reviewed over 1,000 studies to write this book. And the key is I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be light reading. I wanted it to be easy and digestible. And I really feel like that's what makes this book special, is that you can enjoy reading this book and learning about gut health. And when you're done, you're going to understand the path to get there. But that's not good enough in itself. I need to actually take you, and I'm going to hold you by the hand or whatever, and walk you down this path, because I don't know if Cyrus wants to hold hands, and I don't know if I want to hold hands with Cyrus anyway.
Yeah, that's a risky proposition, let me tell you that.
But we're going to walk down this path together. And the beautiful thing is I want to meet you where you are. All right. So I don't care what your dietary background is right now. I truly don't. Because this is not about forcing you to be something that you don't think that you are. This is about bringing the best. This is about bringing out the best in you. And the dietary plan is unique. The way that Robbie and Cyrus would do it is probably different than the way that I would do it. It has to be unique because your gut microbiome is unique. So I really feel like this is able to deliver on all of that. And the best thing about this is that it applies to everyone, whether you have digestive issues or other health issues, or frankly, you're completely healthy. I'm going to tell you right now, I am doubling down I'm taking my own medicine and doubling down on the concepts in this book right now, because it is so important in the time of COVID-19 to have a healthy gut to protect ourselves and build our shield against this virus. If you want to find this book, you can find it on Barnes & Noble. You can find it on Amazon. By the way, Barnes & Noble is shipping faster than Amazon is right now. That being said, we are in the era of COVID-19. Nothing against Amazon, but they are getting richer than ever. And there are small businesses that live in your community that are hurting right now. And I think that we need to be conscious of when we choose to spend $1, if there's a small business in our community that we can support with that dollar, we should try to do that. And so I want to support our local bookstores. I think it's an important thing in the era of COVID-19. If you buy this book, I realize the easiest thing to do is to just click it online and be done with it. But I think it's worth the effort to make the phone call to your local bookstore and support them and buy your book through them. They will get it to you probably today. And I look forward to hearing from you guys what you think about the book. A couple of things real quick. On my website, I have a research guide. All right, completely free. And you don't have to buy the book. I'll give you all 600 references. And I'm going to give you basically the introduction to clinical research, because I hear so many people who are just like, I am confused, They're confused because they're hearing different things from different people. There's so much noise out there. There is truth in the noise, you guys. You just need the right strategies to know how to find that truth. And that's what I'm giving you with my research guide. So buy the book. It's called Fiber Fueled. It's out today. And I look forward to connecting with you guys online as the Gut Health MD and on my website, The Plant Fed Gut, where I have a ton of resources for you.
I can't say enough how enjoyable of a read it is. It really is. It's fun. It's your personality comes through in the writing, so people are going to enjoy it. And honestly, we had so many questions in this interview we just didn't have time to get to. Like, we were going to talk about food sensitivities. That's a really important topic that people are confused about. You cover that in the book and so much more. So we cannot recommend this book enough, guys. Pick it up.
I fully agree. And another thing, I said this in a previous interview, and I will say it again. Will, you are a phenomenal writer. Like, it's one thing to be a good scientist. It's one thing to be a good public speaker. It's one thing to have a good social media profile. But if you can't write a book, it's hard because, it kind of makes the whole process painful where you're like, okay, I guess I got to, filter through this information, even though it's not enjoyable to read. But as I was going through your book, I was like, wow, he's really making this exciting. He's got a very good storytelling ability, and you convey very complex scientific information in a very almost like not too dumbed down way, but give you enough information where you can really take that information and make it practical and put those principles into your life immediately. So I honestly, I don't know how to recommend this book anymore. People, if you are interested in learning more about your gut health, how to improve your gut physiology, and how to derive thousands of benefits that are satellite to improving your gut health, please go pick up this book. And just like Will said, go to a local bookstore and try and get it there if you possibly can. If you cannot for any number of reasons, then go ahead and purchase it online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, no problem. But please get your hands on this book. It is a true game changer, and honestly, one of the best books I've read in the last decade without question. Absolutely love it. Will, thank you for all your hard work. I mean, reading 1,000 papers takes years, and you've done a phenomenal job of putting in a ton of hard work and really conveying that message to people who need the information a lot. Thank you. You're a rock star, and I look forward to learning more over the course of time.
Thank you, guys. Grab Fiber Fueled and Mastering Diabetes. Throw them both into your shopping bin, and let's make this happen. Let's get some good reads on.